This video is sponsored by Epidemic Sound. The first video editing tip that I want you to embrace is how to edit your mistakes out as fast as possible. When you're filming and you're talking directly to camera and you make a mistake, what I want you to do is I want you to snap your fingers audibly 3 times and then pause. And the reason you're gonna do that is because when you're editing in your favorite video editing application, whether it's Adobe Premiere Pro like me, DaVinci Resolve, or even Final Cut Pro, you're going to be able to look at the audio section of your timeline and know exactly where you made your mistakes, so you now know where to make your cut. You can make a clean, fast break. And when you record, you just do your take again right after you've done that 3 snaps like we talked about, because it's gonna have 3 spikes in the audio file. You're gonna be able to recognize it. So this lets you know where to make your cut and it makes it clean. Also, taking pauses in between your takes or when you're doing your lines, whether you're reading a teleprompter or whether you're freestyling like me, just using bullet points, it's actually going to really help you when it comes to just getting through your rough cut and editing faster. Just go through the timeline, take out all your mistakes, take out all the dead air, and do that before you start worrying about your creative edits. You can do all of that after you have a rough cut that is error-free with no dead air and no mistakes. Tip number 2, make a library of assets that you can use for everything and have these sorted out. That way you're not hunting for the perfect B-roll. You're not hunting for the perfect sound effect. You're not hunting for the perfect background music or the perfect motion stock animated file. You should just go ahead and have most of these assets in place so that you can go ahead and reference them, and you need to have them organized into folders. I've downloaded over 1,000 pieces of footage from Storyblocks. It's organized and set into folders, and I have them labeled with different concepts for all the different emotions. I have all of these other concepts like, productivity, creator, money, time, just anything that I would need when I'm referencing a video. That's why I can throw up, B-roll footage right now under the folder video editing, and I can just pull footage of someone editing B-roll, and it's perfect. You should also consider this in terms of making your own custom B-roll so that you have that in reserve. Just have these set and organized in folders. When it comes to my music, I get all of my background music and my sound effects from Epidemic Sound, who we'll talk about in a little bit. And what I do is I have this organized as well. I can set this based on mood and tone. So whatever the tone of the video is, the music matches to it. I also have a sound effects folder. And this is perfect. It means I don't have to spend hours. I've known editors to spend literally 3 hours on the sound design, and most of that 3 hours was just looking for the right tracks. I just already know what the right tracks are because I set it up in advance. Same thing goes for things like motion graphics and effects. Just go ahead and have the ones that you're going to use. I use Motion VFX for a lot of this. It's compatible with Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, and Final Cut Pro. And so I have these things set aside, plus Adobe Premiere Pro comes with a bunch of presets and MoGart files that I can just easily use and have animated motion text on the screen whenever I want. And I kind of have the style that I do for these videos. So I kind of have these already established in terms of what my videos are gonna look like. I don't have to sit there and hunt through and pick out and agonize over the decisions. You want to eliminate decision creep in your video edits. It's gonna make everything faster. Tip number 3, you should focus on simplifying your edits. A lot of you are trying to be way too fancy when it comes to your video editing, and you really should just really analyze the fact that not everyone has to make a Mr. Beast hyper edited video in order to get watch time and retention on YouTube and social media. While this has been proven effective and it does keep those wonderful TikTok attention spans that everyone's developed, notice my disdain, yes, I said it, quiet part out loud. Well, you don't have to edit like that. You can carry people's attention with your performance on camera, and there are a lot of people on YouTube who get millions of views without resorting to that same Mr. Beast editing style. Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD, is one of my favorite YouTubers. He actually keeps his edits really simple. It's the cinematography that takes a lot more work on their part, but the overall edits are simple and clean. They don't overdo it on transitions or effects, most of the work is done in camera. And that's actually a better way to approach it from my perspective. Same thing with Casey Neistat. Casey Neistat's videos are not hyper edited. They are storyboarded, they are performed very well, but most of the work is done in camera. The more work you do in camera to get quality in, the less editing work you're gonna have to do on the back end to make everything right. And speaking of doing less work, that actually brings me to today's sponsor, Epidemic Sound. I don't want to hunt all over the internet to find the perfect audio tracks or sound effects for my videos, and that's why Epidemic Sound is great. I've been using them for years, even before working with them, and most of the creators on YouTube are using them if you are wondering where we're all getting that wonderful background music from. And we all get to use different types of background music because they have a ridiculously large library of music and sound effects that you can use, all copyright free. And the best part is that you can get a free trial with my link in the description down below. Thanks again to Epidemic Sound for sponsoring today's video. Speaking of videos, that does bring us to tip number 4 for your video editing. There are really 3 main techniques that most of you should be focusing on when it comes to video editing, and this is gonna help you refine your videos, get them to higher quality, but also save you time and make this faster. And the 3 techniques you really should be focusing on is what to keep and what to cut. You should be focusing on color correction. It doesn't have to be fancy color grading. Focus on accurate skin tones, for example, and you also should focus on correcting your audio. You can then expand from there to color grading once you decide on a style that you like, and you can then go into further sound design and add background music and sound effects where appropriate. And then your videos are gonna be much more polished, and it's gonna be on par with most of the big YouTubers. Having good looking footage largely is something that can be accomplished with good cameras, good lenses, good lighting. That's going to help you considerably. It's also going to be a matter of your on-camera performance and talent. However, once you know what to cut and what to keep, you can tighten up your videos and do a better job of storytelling, and this is going to help your videos perform. If you focus on getting cuts right and mastering them, that's going to be one of the foundations of you building good habits as a video editor, and you need to just be much more swift and decisive on the decision-making aspect of it. Judgment is the key to good video editing. It's more about judgment than it is about creativity, believe it or not. And then when it comes to color, I really prioritize accurate skin tones. I want what is on camera to represent what somebody looks like as close to in real life as possible. There are flourishes and things that you can adjust in terms of the look. For me, I bump up the contrast, sharpness, and saturation just a little bit. You may have noticed that, but it ends up looking really good and it doesn't make my skin look unnatural. That is also going to make your videos look more polished and professional if people have natural skin tones. You might want to consider shooting in a more neutral or even a log format with your videos to make them easier to edit and to color correct and color grade in the future. I tend to shoot in the standard profile most of the time. When I'm not shooting in the standard profile, I might shoot in the vivid profile just because with the color science of my Sony cameras, it's more flattering for my skin tones and I don't have to work nearly as hard in the edit. Getting a lot of stuff right in camera can really help, or setting yourself up to have as many options as possible in camera helps with giving you better and faster edits. As for correcting your audio, the better your microphones are, the less work you will have to do. In this case right now, I'm not using my wireless lapel mic, which is usually a DoD wireless mic. You may have noticed that. I'm using the Sony Shotgun digital microphone, and I find that works just as good even in the space with the hardwood floors, and I don't have to work aggressively hard in the audio correction. It may not be perfect, but it's actually pretty good for YouTube standards. With your corrections for your audio and even for your color, presets go a long way. Once you get something down, if you're going to shoot in the same location, you can use presets to make this easier so that you can just push a button and you get the exact result that you're looking for. So keep that in mind. As long as you keep consistent conditions, which for some of you feel like it'll make your videos boring, but there are videos with millions, if not tens of millions of views in YouTube that are actually shot and edited pretty simply. I mean, one of the best examples of this is probably Abba and Preach. They're a funny comedy and commentary duo, and their stuff is all shot in one scene, and it's pretty much always the same, and it hasn't stopped them from getting millions upon millions of views on their videos. Simple videos can still work. I'm just telling you that you can also tighten them up just a little bit. Tip number 5. This is one of the secrets to consistency and faster editing. Give yourself an actual time constraint for editing your videos. I tend to edit videos in 90-minute blocks. For one thing, it's probably the maximum stretch of effective focus and productivity is working on something 90 minutes at a time. It's one of my secret productivity hacks before I get diminishing returns for just working on something all the way through. It's also fine, by the way, every 25 minutes in this 30-minute session to go ahead, take a break, stretch, walk around, get some water, do whatever you need to do. So those 5-minute breaks actually help. This is called the Pomodoro technique. It is one of those guru productivity hacks that people love so much on YouTube and TikTok. TikTok. Moving along, just make sure that you're doing this, productively and practically, because what I find is by doing 1 or 2 editing sessions like this in a day, I end up getting anywhere from 1 to 2 videos cranked out pretty easily. So when I combine that with batch recording, it works out really well. And that's how I've been able to get out daily content once again and be consistent here on YouTube. And it's obviously been working really well for the channel, and it sets me up for future success since most of my content is evergreen. See, I threw in a YouTube tip for you here or there to grow the channel. And there you go, 5 video editing tips that will help you become a faster video editor, and these actually work. If you enjoyed this video, you want to make sure you're checking out my series on video editing. It's going to be linked in the description down below. Also, you might want to check out this video on consistency if it's something that you're struggling with in your content. As always, thank you so very much for watching, and don't forget, go out there and create something awesome today. Take care.